Joining me today is Lamar Wheeler, our agency's Senior Executive Director of Housing Support Services, along with Michael Bocchini, Senior Executive Director for Veterans Support Services. We are happy to join you to discuss the Speaker's State of the City report card program, specifically the inaugural report that was released about DVS. I want to start by saying thank you for taking the time to put this analysis together. A great deal of consideration, diligence, and care went into drafting this document. We appreciate the report card, and to its creators, we appreciate you. Now, to get into it, the Speaker released a 76-page written report, a document that was roughly 1 year in the making. We're responding to that report through delivering testimony during a City Council hearing. There's asymmetry between what was written and how we're responding to it, and for that reason, we will not be able to address every single item written in a report that's nearly 20,000 words long. We will honor the spirit of the report while addressing its feedback through 4 key themes. I urge the Council and all who are interested to review our most recent City Council testimony. This was delivered during the preliminary budget hearing held on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. That testimony, which can be viewed at legistar.council.nyc.gov, speaks in detail about our department's history, how DVS is arrayed our primary services, and what we do to fulfill our charter mandate. It reviews our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and it relays current priorities. In the interest of time, I'll try not to speak too deeply about things that were already mentioned there. And then another flag, there are execution approaches made in the scorecard that claim to have been informed by municipal and higher level government work in Australia and Europe. Some of these norms, while purportedly common outside of the United States, have no precedent for being done at the city, state, or federal levels inside of America. And then a final flag, I pray that we have a healthy discussion. Everything that follows is not born from a place of let's blame this person for this or that person for that. It comes from a place of let's speak openly about what's going on, what has gone well, what needs work, and what does the path look like as we navigate towards a better tomorrow. It is clear from the report, those who contributed to the scorecard acted with benevolent intentions, kind hearts, and good faith. They acted in a way that removed ego and maintained focus on the veteran community. We aim to embody that same mood. Now to some of those major themes I mentioned. Theme 1, resource allocation. It is important to note that we, the NYC Department of Veteran Services, are a municipal government entity. As a public organization, DVS, the smallest department in New York City government, does all that we can to execute the laws that are written using the budget that we are provided. Our task, per Chapter 75 of the New York City Charter, is to assist and inform members of the uniformed services community, including allies and stakeholders in the areas of healthcare, housing, benefits, culture, education, and employment. When recommendations are written which circle back to the comment, paraphrasing, DVS doesn't have enough resources, note that we, along with all agencies, must operate within the budget that we do have an environment where citywide financial resources are finite, and we are able to achieve great work with the staff and resources that are available to the department. We can always do more with more is a statement that we've uttered several times during past City Council hearings throughout the years. When resource changes can be made, we embrace them. Needless to say, when we do not have the resources, when the city is going through tough times like the COVID-19 pandemic and the migrant crisis, we do not stop and feel sorry for ourselves. We do not retreat and complain. Our veterans, all of them, including their families, sacrificed so much for this country, doing more with less. We can function too. Our challenges relative to those overcome by our community are small. That said, in the face of adversity and extreme scarcity, DVS innovates and executes. I tell our team all the time, strategically, DVS's work is like football. We move left, right, or forward. We do not stop or go backwards. Being that this is the norm for DVS, we focus very much on how to leverage the resources and partners around us to attain certain capabilities. For each of our charter mandated areas, questions that we ask are, what are the community's needs in this space? How can DVS leverage the resources and goodwill that we have as a government entity to ensure that those needs are met? And how do we add value in a way that is unique and efficient? DVS is not the end-all be-all. We're a catalyst for further change. From a military standpoint, we aim to ensure that certain capabilities are present in the landscape. We enact that approach by offering direct services where needed, providing referrals, and executing what we call synergies. Synergies are situations where we collaboratively work with partners to ensure that, for the value delivered to veterans and their loved ones, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. We do our best to foster a dynamic where we punch above our weight class such that, inclusive of partners, 1 + 1 = 3. The takeaway, I ask that discussions of resource allocation be realistic, focused on the end state first. In other words, how do we reverse engineer an environment that looks like X, and factor in all players and resources available. Theme 2, expectation management. In general, I take responsibility for the feedback that we, the NYC Department of Veteran Services, have not managed expectations in the best way that we can with the veteran community. There's several things to say here in clearing the air. First off, we are not the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Oftentimes, veterans and their loved ones have grievances that they wish to air with the federal government about VA services, and they do not know where to go. At times when they believe that no movement has occurred, we provide them with the VA's Office of Inspector General contact information. For the record, the VA's Office of Inspector General website is va.gov/OIG. The OIG hotline is 1-800-488-8244. Another nuance in confusing us with the VA, for veterans who face housing insecurity, the VA will assist veterans who are eligible for VA health care. If you're not eligible for VA health care, then the VA will not provide assistance should you become housing insecure. That responsibility falls on us. Historically, approximately 40% of New York City's homeless veterans are not VHA eligible. For those veterans, we assist them with the housing search. DVS has housed 1,447 veterans since our inception, and this is our contribution to the city's reduction in the homeless veteran population from 4,677 in 2011 to 624 in 2024, a more than 85% decline. While we do what we can to achieve certain capabilities, partnership and collaboration are our cornerstones. It is important to make sure all who observe us know that we are a small agency who efficiently uses the resources we have to accomplish an incredible amount. I feel as though in the report, our agency's size relative to what we've done as such a small organization was not factored into the scoring. It is not an apples to apples comparison to put us side by side with other departments. To mention a few examples of how we work with partners to deliver an outsized impact. For employment, or nyc.gov/vetjobs, DVS facilitated employment opportunities at a rate of roughly 125 per month. A key differentiator between us and our colleagues at the Department of Small Business Services, whom we work in lockstep with via their Priority 1 program. SBS helps clients obtain jobs where the median pay is $19 per hour. DVS helps clients obtain jobs that traditionally pay more than $40,000 per year. For VA claims, this is nyc.gov/vetclaims. During FY25, the City Council, in its wisdom, and we thank Veterans Committee Chair Robert Holden, Finance Committee Chair Justin Brannon, and Speaker Adrian Adams for this, funded a Veteran Resource Center initiative which effectively increases the number of accredited veteran service officers who help New York City veterans file VA claims. Beyond that, one of our Vet Connect service providers, Northwell Health, has hired 2 full-time veteran service officers who are also able to help veterans file VA claims. These actions increase our community's overall ability to respond to the veterans' claims-related needs. Per the ACS 2023 one-year estimate, the percentage of veterans who have a service-connected disability rating nationwide is 31.2%. That proportion drops to 21.6% in New York State, then to 20.1% in New York City. In the pursuit of parity between the proportion of veterans served at the national and city levels, we're doing everything that we can to close the gap. The Veteran Feeding Program at nyc.gov/vetfood. Since June of 2020, DVS, in partnership with HelloFresh, the New York State Department of Veteran Services, the New York State Food and Anti-Hunger Policy Coordinator, the Campaign Against Hunger, Black Veterans for Social Justice, Amazon, numerous community and civic entities, and philanthropic partners such as the New York Health Foundation and Bob Woodruff Foundation, has facilitated the preparation and delivery of 2,000 meal kits per week. Each meal kit contains 4 meals, picked up by approximately 20 community entities and delivered to food insecure New York City veterans. Mission Vet Check, nyc.gov/vetcheck. Started in 2020, Mission Vet Check is a buddy check wellness calling program run in partnership with New York Cares and courtesy of generous support from various funders, including the New York City Council. Once again, thank you, Chair Holden, Chair Brannon, Speaker Adams, and the entire council for your support. Over the past few years, more than 16,000 Mission Vet Check calls were made each year, resulting in approximately 2,000 referrals per services per year. Mission Vet Check is a key way for us to reach out to veterans who are in the shadows. Another place where we must manage expectations are 2 of our contract-related efforts. 2 initiatives where innovation is occurring, but it takes time, are A, transitioning to a new technology provider for our Vet Connect NYC platform, and B, our rollout of the private first class Joseph P. Dwyer Veterans Support Program. To level set, Vet Connect NYC is our agency's digital referral initiative. You can learn more by visiting nyc.gov/vetconnect. The private first-class Joseph P. Dwyer program is a state-funded effort administered to normalize help-seeking behavior among veteran and military families. Details can be found at nyc.gov/vetdwyer. The execution of these efforts has been impacted by several things, most significantly by challenges surrounding Passport, the city's digital procurement platform. The challenges involving Passport for city contracting in general are covered in the report. Things that I can say beyond the Passport piece, which is being addressed. In each of these cases, the Vet Connect technology provider change and the way we execute Dwyer, DVS stepped away from maintaining the status quo. The technology change in Vet Connect was rooted in feedback from our community about our digital referral platform. We plan to launch the new look Vet Connect NYC portal on the first day of fiscal year 2026 on July 1st, 2025. For Dwyer, DVS is taking Dwyer funding and through a grant-like process which conforms to New York City's Procurement Protocol Board rules, distributing resources to local veteran organizations and allied entities in order to have a hyper-local impact for Dwyer resources. Money has and is in the process of being dispersed in support of 31 New York City Dwyer projects at this time. We're on a good foot with Dwyer and Vet Connect now. Nevertheless, I take full responsibility for not realizing how much of a delay would occur in processing these contracts. Some additional thoughts. Along with the contracting component, Dwyer also took time as we internally worked to ensure that funds connected to the program were fluidly sent to DVS. Another thing, the intersection between us needing Passport to perform all Dwyer-related procurement and the platform's existing challenges made executing Dwyer particularly hard. That said, we are powering through all issues. Another factor that affected the Vet Connect rollout, we needed to incorporate new technology in Vet Connect, technology not used before in New York City government in order to fully comply with Local Law 37. Until now, no technology exists where you can bulk upload a list of New York City addresses and immediately learn the city council districts associated with those addresses. This innovation is key to DVS sharing contact information with each council member about the veterans whom we are aware of in your districts during the ramp up to Memorial Day and Fleet Week. As I reflect on feedback in the report card that there's a disconnect between how the agency sees itself versus how we're seen by the veteran community, three things come to mind. Number one, knowing that if media reports are correct, only 21 people were contacted to provide all qualitative and quantitative feedback for the scorecard. In other words, the survey percentages mentioned and the comments provided only came from 21 individuals, otherwise known as 1/100th of 1% of our population at most. So it's 0.01%. It is hard for me to digest that feelings towards DVS from New York City's entire veteran community are so negative and strong. Number two, it must be said much of our work aims to bring veterans into the light. A majority of U.S. military veterans do not self-identify. Per the federal government's FY23 Geographic Distribution of VA Expenditures Report, 34.3% of veterans self-identify nationwide, 29.8% self-identify in New York State, and 24.1% self-identify in New York City. When you add the fact that the FY25 budgets for the VA, the New York State Department of Veteran Services, and DVS are $378.6 billion, $30 million, and $7 million, respectively. Despite the combined resources that we have, this problem with self-identification persists. It impacts us all. When taking in feedback from the veteran community, we must face the duality of I'm receiving and accepting wisdom from those in our tribe who do self-identify. At the same time, it is incumbent on us to find and attract the veterans who do not. And then with our limited resources, we often spend time in places where those who do not self-identify are. That is, entities and organizations that could capture them. To those who have self-identified, because we're heavily focused on the non-identifying veterans, they could view us and think, I do not see you aggressively coming to me. The charge, we do not see you, is still a charge. Our state and federal counterparts have received similar feedback as well. I accept that. It is something that all of us are working on. From reflecting on the report, I think another reason for the disconnect between how the community sees DVS and how we see ourselves is we've spent ample time these past several years building capabilities. Our logic, informed by various community interactions, our veteran and military family survey, city council hearings, and the like, you cannot get something with nothing. One must offer attractive programs and benefits in order to inspire and motivate our brothers and sisters to self-identify as U.S. military veterans, to come into the light. We have been overjoyed to notch wins that provide more offerings to the veteran community. We're preparing the battlefield, so to speak. Members of the community may think that all sounds great, but I do not know about these things. I need to see you deliver those things. That is something we are pivoting to currently. To us, the 1, 2, 3 combination of using Mission Vet Check to make cold calls, 1. Sharing veteran contact information with council members in the lead up to Memorial Day, 2. And the launch of the new look Vet Connect NYC platform on July 1st, 3, are major milestones which will define the pivot point. Moving over to theme number 3, penetration. The best way for us to break through in reaching our veterans, including those who do not self-identify, is to work with our partners and allies. Now that we have offerings in each of our charter-mandated areas and started on July 1st, a platform that can appropriately receive those who come to us in the form of a new look Vet Connect NYC, over the coming weeks, DVS will engage with all whom we can to help spread the word. We will start with our city council members, community boards, borough presidents, state assembly members, and state senators. Thanks to the change in Vet Connect, we can divide our veterans' contact information along all of those lines. The City Council evolution paved the way for us to disaggregate data through other districts geographically. Thank you for that. Next, we will focus on engaging New York City's major community benefits organizations, not just those that are veteran-specific. This will help us identify veterans who are untethered, those who have not self-identified. The ask of community benefits organizations will be to share the collateral that we provide and ask the Local Law 37 questions. They are, paraphrasing, have you or any member of your household ever served in the U.S. Armed Forces? And do you consent to being contacted by DVS? The objective for us is to inspire and motivate veterans who have not self-identified to do so and to take advantage of what we and our partners have to offer. This ties back to our overall strategy, connect. We learn who our veterans are. Mobilize. Veterans learn who we are, and they discover our offerings. And empower. We serve them. Our approach hinges on the concept of touches. You need at least 7 touches or occasions when a person interacts with your product or offering in order for it to translate into a possible conversion. We, the Department of Veteran Services, do not have the resources to perform all 7 touches alone. Even if we could, that would not be the best way. It is best for it to come from different sources through different angles. Prior to the new Vet Connect, prior to having so many capabilities available, and prior to this touches approach, DVS saw our number of veterans and families served increase over the past 3 years. FY22, 23, and 24, from 1,068 to 3,338 to 10,701. With limited resources and a tough economic backdrop, we have labored since 2019 to get to this point. I truly believe that this expansion plan will work. We owe the Council and the broader veteran community a more detailed short and long-term plan. We accept that feedback. Today, I want to assure people there's a lot of work, a lot of intentionality, and a lot of thought behind what is occurring. We appreciate the support and patience from everyone as this all comes together. Theme number 4, smart growth. When speaking to the question of what should DVS look like over its next 10 years, it is not feasible to offer numbers without being able to defend those numbers in what have been and may continue to be difficult economic times. I'll provide what I think is a good framework for the next 5 years. Don't want to say 10 years because things change so much, things beyond our control. But some caveats. It takes time to grow an organization. And then there's a spiritual return on investment to these suggestions. We should always do right by our U.S. military service members and their loved ones. That said, the monetary return on investment arguments can be made on the net effect of these additions as well. And then one last caveat, the current breakdown of DVS, organizationally and otherwise, is outlined in our preliminary budget hearing testimony from March 25th, 2025. What follows is what I believe DVS could look like as a DVS 2.0. Regarding smart growth, the thing that I will say, speaking to tomorrow's policymakers, do not manufacture a crisis. When you're in an environment like this where resources are scarce, there are leaders who will engineer a situation where they inspire veterans and their loved ones to come to their organizations for help, knowing that they are unable to triage the need. The point is to tell benefactors and prospective financiers, look at all the veterans who need me. I do not have the resources to support them. Please fund my work. While that may be a practice for some nonprofit and for-profit organizations, for DVS as a government veteran services agency, we cannot operate that way. We must calibrate what we and our partners are able to offer to the intensity with which we promote those offerings citywide. DVS must stand ready to receive and triage a growing number of clients who approach us. To do otherwise is to do harm. Everything that we're doing is predicated on having the right composition, disposition, and strength to engage New York City's entire veteran community, working with partners, and to deliver the resources that U.S. military service members past and present and their families also need, also working with allied organizations and stakeholders. Responses to scorecard recommendations. For leadership, strategy, and direction. We're happy to publish a short and long-term plan. It is critical that we make sure that the plan dovetails with existing reporting and oversight mechanisms. This is all in support of working smartly and efficiently. Service delivery recommendations. When it comes to our Veteran Resource Centers, or VRCs, the key issue is not where is each VRC located, or can a DVS employee be available during non-traditional hours to receive clients, including all logistical implications involved. The issue is, do veterans know DVS so they know that they can reach out to us and ask us for help? We meet and serve veterans during non-traditional times always. If a veteran's not able to meet in person at a Veteran Resource Center during the VRC's stated hours, then we flex to meet them remotely and or in person on a case-by-case basis. We take a dynamic approach as opposed to a static one with both this and our presence in the shelter system. The pain point is making sure that veterans are aware of DVS. This goes back to the plan that was discussed during the previous section. It outlines how we intend to have more constituents learn who we are as we facilitate increased touches and go viral. Earlier in this testimony, we addressed the scorecard's comments on the disconnect between how DVS views its operations versus the feedback from the 21 respondents to the report. And then for the sake of efficiency and recognizing that internal audit and oversight mechanisms exist between those established by the Office of Management and Budget, the Mayor's Office of Operations, the Comptroller's Office, the Department of Investigation, and the New York City Council, DVS will not perform internal audits of its operations. We trust the overlapping audit, oversight, and investigative systems that exist within city government. Also, recognizing that we must be smart with our resources, it is vital to have more people doing things worth measuring at DVS than to have staff members internally measuring those things. To relationships and collaboration. The agency has several existing touches with veteran community members. These include, but are not limited to, veteran and military family community summits. We hold these at a rate of 1 to 2 times per year. Community engagement sessions held quarterly with veteran community leaders. Employment workshops held 2 to 4 times per year. Entrepreneurship sessions held 2 to 4 times per year. Women Veterans Luncheon held 1 time per year. Veterans Mental Health Coalition meets 4 to 6 times per year. Community survey conducted once every 4 years with 1,500 plus respondents. Veterans Advisory Board meetings. DVS attends and addresses these meetings 5 times per year. And then the Veteran Feeding Program, each Wednesday on 50 out of 52 weeks per year. Various veteran community gatherings and events. The agency attends more than 250 veteran community events each year. And Mission Vet Check, approximately 16,000 plus buddy check wellness calls to veterans each year. For digital engagement, there are approximately 10,000 veterans who subscribe to our weekly newsletter, nyc.gov/vet newsletter. We grew from having 245 to 362 to 474,000 social media impressions over the last 3 years, and our website was visited 28, then 125, then 161,000 times over the same interval. Those numbers are separate from the direct services work we've done in housing, VA claims, burials, and employment, among other things. To reiterate, the number of veterans and military families we've served from the Mayor's Management Report has increased from 1,068 to 3,338 to 10,701 over the past 3 years, fiscal years 22, 23, and 24. I push back on the notion conveyed by 21 individuals that we are not present and that we do not listen to the needs of the community. There's a broader issue which bedevils all municipalities and states, including the federal government, about how to tackle the challenge of veteran self-identification. The question, how can we best attract our brothers and sisters to our services and those of our partners in order to bring them to the light? That's the question. As I've briefed, we're engaging this issue directly. The plan that we're currently executing will help us address these things. For workforce development, we've spoken to the DVS 2.0 size, earlier in this testimony. When it comes to hiring, 12 out of the 39 authorized billets at DVS are filled by U.S. military service members past and present. Apart from those 12, 2 billets are filled by military spouses, one of whom is a Gold Star spouse. Excluding spouses, 31% of all of our agency's authorized billets, 12 out of 39 positions, are filled by military veterans. This is the highest proportion in New York City government. For perspective, the proportion of NYPD members, uniformed and non-uniformed, who are veterans, out of all billets, is 5.2%. The proportion of FDNY members is 8.6%. The same metric for the Department of Corrections is 5.4%. Military-connected persons comprise a large part of DVS's staff. Beyond this, we host an average of 6 transitioning service members or military interns tied to the Department of Defense's SkillBridge program each year. During a given academic semester, DVS hosts 20 to 30 VA work-study students who support our agency, assisting in areas ranging from communications to housing to information technology. It is common practice for us to post job openings, full-time and ancillary, on our agency's newsletter. DVS significantly incorporates veteran community members into our workforce between direct and ancillary staff. To be compliant with fair hiring practices, we and all of New York City government cannot discriminate against a job applicant on the basis of their status as a uniformed services member, past or present. Also, we cannot discriminate against a job applicant on the basis of them not having been a member of the uniformed services. For financial and resources management, my response to the suggestion that DVS audit and perform an impact analysis of every penny that the agency spends is in line with my response to the previous recommendation about auditing. For digital government, many of the digital government recommendations will be accomplished through the rollout of our new VetConnect NYC platform at the beginning of FY26, starting on July 1st, 2025. For measurement, analytics, and knowledge management, many of the measurement, analytics, and knowledge management recommendations will be accomplished through our new VetConnect NYC platform, which kicks off publicly on July 1st. We're happy to publish policies for data sharing on the DVS website in the future as well. Recommendations to the City Council. In the spirit of giving and receiving feedback, 3 DVS recommendations to the City Council follow. 1, please include the Local Law 37 Veteran Identifier questions on the constituent intake forms in your offices. Those questions, paraphrasing, are: have you or any member of your household ever served in the U.S. Armed Forces? And do you consent to being contacted by the NYC Department of Veteran Services? 2, please require all nonprofits funded by the council to deliver veteran programming to interact with DVS. Engaging us allows DVS to amplify the nonprofit's veteran-specific events, services, and offerings. And 3, the spotlight brought by the support and this hearing to veterans issues is always welcome. Many pieces of legislation have been introduced by the council members to address veterans issues. I'd like to briefly turn today's spotlight onto 2 such pieces of legislation. A is Intro number 685. This would, among other things, legally create a veteran leadership advisory program to educate veteran-owned business enterprises about city procurement opportunities and support such business enterprises during the procurement process. DVS does this now through our Veteran Business Leadership Association, much like Local Law 40 of 2024, which codified our agency's digital services platform, VetConnect. Intro 685 would codify the Veteran Business Leadership Association into law. B, Intro number 686 would amend the membership of the Street Vendor Advisory Board to include the Commissioner of Veteran Services or their designee, and it would increase the number of speaker-appointed members to 7 to include a representative of the veteran community. These 2 pieces of legislation address specific issues that veterans raise with DVS repeatedly. I welcome the opportunity to work with the council on these bills with a shared goal of positive and meaningfully impacting the veterans community in our city. In conclusion, thank you again for taking time to have this discussion. We're happy to answer all questions that the council has. The New York City Department of Veteran Services can be reached via telephone at 212-416-5250, email at connect@veterans.nyc.gov, online at nyc.gov/vets, and through the social media handle at NYC Veterans. Say it one more time. Telephone 212-416-5250. Email connect@veterans.nyc.gov. Online is nyc.gov/vets, and social media is using the handle at NYC Veterans. God bless you, God bless the city of New York, and God bless America. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and I give you an A for speed reading. Because you 20 pages you just went through, and so I think that's quite amazing. And we understand, we understand the evaluation process, and we're going to ask you questions on that. But I just want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Palladino on Zoom. So I'd like to just you mentioned some of the things I'm about to ask in your testimony, but I have to go through the process. So let's talk about the process of evaluation. DVS was one of the, as you know, is one of the 3 city agencies to be chosen for the first round of the report card initiative. What, other than what you mentioned, or you can just repeat it, what do you think went well during the data collection and analysis process, and what could have been improved? Now, you mentioned the 21 people that were polled, the advocates, but are there any other things that you could you can elaborate on?
I think when it comes to data, first off, we're so happy that the council has gone through this. The speaker has taken this initiative. We're happy to be the first in the chute for the conversation. Anything that brings more attention to the veteran community is better than less. So the fact that we're talking about veterans here today, that's a win for our community. We want to say that. For the data, we think that reaching out to us, we could have gotten them information about who all the different veteran leaders are that we are aware of in the city. We maintain a list of over 160 veteran leaders as far as different organizational heads and whatnot, and we could have shared that gladly. So it could be something that's broader, even if it's just going after leaders, to go after something that's broader than what was just 21 people. For us, we've said it in the past, we estimate there'd be about 200,000 veterans in this city, more than that, actually. Once you include families, you're looking at a community of 600,000. We have 200,000 plus veterans, 400,000 plus family members. To have just 21 people, it's not fully reflective. And for us,
so
we
what would
happily
you say?
shared the context.
How many would you say? 500? What number?
Oh, as far as an appropriate number?
Yes.
I know for us, for survey purposes, we always try to for our veteran and military survey of our community, we try to target a number that's greater than 1,200 for it at all times, and we usually keep it at north of 1,500. So not that they need to get that much, but even if you want to just go to leaders to interact with more than 21, I think it gives a little more credence to things. It can be more representative.
So how satisfied were you with the degree of input that DVS staff had in providing information for the report? And how satisfied were you with the degree of input that DVS staff had in reviewing the early findings and recommendations before the report was finalized?
So the council, I know the first wave of questions was about 133 questions with 92 main questions, and the rest was sub-questions. It was 133 questions was a question that we received first, and we responded as best we could. And then there were subsequent waves of questions, so there were times when they were prodding us for the information. When the report itself was complete, though, we received it about 2 weeks ago, and first we were told, here's the executive summary. We need you to give us a full response to the report just from seeing a 2-page executive summary. So we hadn't seen all of it. And so we didn't get to see everything. And so once we did see everything, I will give credit to the council where there were 2 things that we flagged as factual, things that just factually weren't accurate, and they did make those tweaks, and we're thankful for that.
So they did change it
They did make those 2 changes. They made those 2 changes, but for us, as far as this is our first forum to really give full feedback after having seen it in its entirety. And so there's a lot that I wish we could have, had we seen it and been given more time, as opposed to here's the 2 pages, give this to us, and that'll count as you having read it. That I just wish that dynamic didn't exist.
So how satisfied were you with the outreach that the City Council compliance staff made to VSOs and advocates in the veterans community in seeking their input during the process? So you mentioned only 21, but so would you say you're dissatisfied?
I think that we have information. So it's part of Section 31105 of the Administrative Code, piece of it, and this ties to VAB operations. The department shall also maintain and periodically update the contact information of veterans organizations located in the city. And so I feel like that's something where we could have, we've been happy to provide. I feel like the council or the speakers team, they wanted to do this completely independent of us, and we could have at least gotten them information for folks who are in leadership. That's the
all right. For the record, though, they engaged the advocacy groups speaking on behalf of the members, and engaged the Veterans Advisory Board extensively. For the report. So that's according to the compliance staff. Let's talk about the findings. The final report offers 7 key findings. Would you give us a brief reaction to one, commenting on whether you think each one is a fair representation of DVS's work? So let's start with number 1. DVS made an effort to meet veterans where they are likely to be. Do you agree with the findings on?
Yes.
You do? Okay. Number 2, DVS has tried to use its resources wisely, recognizing that it cannot do it alone. Do you agree with that finding?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go through this, so it'll be, it'll be a lot. Maybe I could ask them, but all at once. But there is a gap. Number 3, there is a gap between DVS's reported practices and the experiences described by veterans and advocates. Do you agree with that finding?
This is the one where, the caveat to it is a lot of the work for us is identifying the veterans. We always say at the hearings, roughly 1 out of 4 veterans self-identifies, like 24.1%. And so a lot of our effort is spent trying to go reach out to those folks who are in the shadows to kind of get them into this. And so I think that's one piece of it. Another piece of this is we've been spending ample time, and this is why I agreed that we want to put our short and long-term plans out, make them public, just building the capabilities out here, putting the different benefits or offerings out there for the veterans to know about. if you don't have much to offer people by way of benefits and offerings and supports, they're not going to show. And so for us, it's been, be it through housing, through healthcare, benefits, culture, education, employment, it's been setting up all the different accoutrements, if you will, that can be attractive so we can get our veterans to come into the light so that then more of them can identify. And then you have that stronger relationship that the report is suggesting.
Number 4, continuity of care is critical to the long-term health, stability, and financial well-being of veterans. Do you agree with that finding?
I agree with the caveat that for us, it's you become a member of this community when you first take the oath to serve, protect, and defend. You stay a member of this community even into the grave and beyond. And so for us, it's about how do we start to identify these service members as soon as they join the tribe. And so that's why we've been so heavy with tying in with our friends at the Defense Department to learn who our veterans are. We're even working to have an event where we see class of 2025 high school graduates who are enlisting in the military to kind of connect with them before they even go off the basic training so they know, hey, we're here, but then to stay with them throughout all their endeavors in life and to look at it as that continuity of care on housing issues, continuity of care on economic issues, be it employment, be it education, continuity of care on healthcare issues. So for us, it's really this holistic approach of cradle to grave. You know, as soon as you take the oath, you're one of us, and we're with you even when you're in the ground and beyond.
Okay, number 5 is DVS has created various support channels for veterans to access its services and also collaborates with several government and nonprofit agencies on a number of initiatives. Do you agree with that finding?
Yes.
Okay, so number 6 is DVS needs to rebuild trust with the New York City veteran community. Do you agree with that?
I don't. Once again, it's the adaptive challenge for us is finding our people and attracting them to what we have to offer. That's step one. And that you can't even have the trust discussion if you don't know who I am and vice versa. So that's where a lot of our energy has been focused.
Right. And finally, on number 7, DVS must do better in leveraging other New York City agencies to reach and serve more veterans. Do you agree with that finding?
I think we can always do better. So we're doing a lot. We play we play in the foxhole hard, so to speak, with partners like Department of Small Business Services, Department of Social Services, to include that's HRA, that's the Department of Homeless Services, with the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities. You know, and others. We do a lot working with them, and that's city side. On the state side, not only working with the Department of Veteran Services at the state level, but working closely with the Higher Education Services Corporation. It runs special scholarship programs for veterans, working with the State of New York Mortgage Agency as far as veteran home buying opportunities, and just doing what we can to tie in, including something as far as the New York State Education Department and looking at Access VR, Voc Rehab, and that nexus between these two as far as vocational rehab. At the federal level, it's not just working with the VA, but also working with our good friends at the Department of Labor when it comes to different employment opportunities. And of course, the Department of Defense, recognizing roughly 13,000 veterans in this city are people like me who are reservists or active duty or guards. So we do what we can to tie in, and the Department of Housing and Urban Development, let's not forget. So we do what we can to tie in city, state, federal with our government partners.
All right. Let's talk about the grades now. I know my students didn't like a C grade, but because I taught for 40-something years, and C was not great, but it was an average grade, at least in college. It showed average work. But DVS received an overall grade of C in the report, with C defined as adequate performance and capability, some evidence of continuous improvement activities, sufficient evidence of internal assessments of performance and/or capability gaps, internal processes need improvement. Do you feel that the C for that is a fair grade in DVS?
I don't feel that's a fair grade. I think that when I look at the definition,
what would you say was a fair grade?
I think at least a B. And I say this because when we look at the numbers, if you're grading a student, that student goes over the past 3 years, just speaking that veterans and families served metric, roughly 1,000 to roughly 3,000 to roughly 10,000 over a 3-year period. If you look at that student and their social media impression goes from 245,000 to 362,000 to 474,000 over a 3-year period. You look at that student, they go from, for site visits, their site, 28,000 to 125,000 to 161,000 over a 3-year period. I think it's hard to say that student is a C student. And you have to say that we've been doing something to try to take in the feedback from our community and incorporate it. When I look at the B definition, it's positive performance and capability. I believe that is what we're doing. It's extensive evidence of continuous improvement activities. I believe that's what we're doing. And then there's widespread evidence of internal assessments of performance and or capability gaps. I think that for us, case in point is the Vet Connect situation, where there was a lot of feedback from our community on how to upgrade our case management platform so we can be better with how we're serving our veterans and closing the loop with them. It's not online yet simply because of contracting issues, but that'll be fully online come July 1st. But we heard our community. We incorporated that feedback. I look at the different surveys we've put out as far as our Veteran and Military Family Survey from a few years ago. For our next one, we'll be unveiling that on May 15th. So we are surveying our folks to get input, once again with more than 1,500 respondents. And then I look at things like the community engagement sessions we hold, our presence at the Veterans Advisory Board sessions. I look at the summits that we put together and other events. And I feel as though we do what we can to create this feedback loop where we can hear our community and its leaders and give them forums where they can speak and we can account for those things. And so for those reasons, I think the right grade should be at least a B.
Right. So the fact that you had 3 times the amount of engagements over the years, you've increased that warranted a B grade, mostly. Just based on all the programs you initiated and all the contacts, just that you were in contact with more veterans in this little past year, 3 times the amount. So which of the recommendations do you plan to implement in the next 6 months, would you say, from the council's recommendations?
So I think that the Vet Connect NYC, because a lot of the recommendations that deal with case management and how cases are tracked and how information is gathered and closing the loop appropriately when the referrals, that ties to this new look Vet Connect. And so that's one that we look at that we will be implementing. Also, sharing a short and long-term plan. I think that is a very good recommendation. We will be putting that online so folks can see what's going on. And then another one will be, the publishing policies for data sharing on the DVS website. That's another recommendation we will be taking.
Good. Okay. Any recommendation you do not plan to implement?
We will not implement the auditing piece. And I only say that because it's a quadrupling of resources when you have so many other organizations that do oversight and investigation to say DVS do that as well. So we will not be implementing the auditing recommendation. And we won't, I understand what the community is getting at, saying, hey, you need more and more veterans there. But we currently are best in class in the city as far as the proportion of our employees who are veterans. And what, to me, the real riddle, because we cannot have discriminatory hiring practices at the end of the day. That violates human rights law for the city. For us, it's about when more of our community knows about us, when more veterans self-identify, then when they see those opportunities, when we post them in social media or post them on the website, we'll have more veterans who apply. So organically, we may see more representation there. Yeah.
So it is, again, I feel, and this is my personal view, that the agency should be 3 times the size. I used to say double the size, but 3 times the size, because we can't even do mailings. I mean, you can't do mailings at all to veterans if you wanted to reach them with a lot of information. I mean, it's very difficult to do. And especially for the veterans who don't have email or are not online and so forth, don't have the necessary capabilities. So you are limited as opposed to most other agencies. But what would you say would be an ideal size of the agency, considering you get a budget of just over $5 million? What would you say would be where you could probably do most of meet most of your goals if you had this budget? It's a hypothetical. It's not. I'm not going to put you on the spot on it.
To speak about it in terms of capabilities, because there's a better way to put it, like as far as speaking of it in terms of desired end states, to kind of help and that paint the picture as far as reverse engineering. One desired end state is to get to functional zero with veteran homelessness. Right now, our point in time count is 624 homeless veterans, and to get to 400 is a goal. So when we look at the team that Lamar runs, each of his folks, they have about 12 to 15 move-outs per quarter. So what we can do to kind of get there and stay there as far as functional zero on veteran homelessness. That's one piece. So looking at having enough staff to maintain that. Another one is closing this gap we spoke to as far as Mike's team when it comes to VA claims. Recognizing that you're trying to move from having forgive me the number, here we go. It's 31.2% of all veterans has a VA rating at the federal nationwide. We're down to 20.1% here in New York City. So whatever it takes to have enough capacity to cover that gap as far as the number of veterans who can get their claims filed. And you want to put an asterisk there to account for burials or folks who pass away, making sure that the family knows what burial benefits to take care of, or that the veteran can, preempt those things. I think those are key pieces as far as when we try to drive at components. Another component on the employment side, I'll take right now, for instance, forgive me not having an exact number, but it's a little over 4,500 veterans in New York City whom we estimate may wind up becoming unemployed due to the reduction in forces in New York City, in federal government. So if you look at the federal reduction in forces happening, we foresee over 4,500 veterans not having jobs. If you look at the number of working age veterans, and you look at the fact that 1 out of 10 veterans works for the federal government, and you see a target of roughly 75% reduction in force. And so we need to be able to have the resources to embrace them on an entrepreneurship side or on an employment side. So for me, when I look at these things, it's really with a focus to how do we have enough bodies to get to functional zero? How do we have enough folks to at least close the gap on the services piece? How do we have enough folks to, it's not just about the near term of a reduction in forces, but to receive a strong flow of veterans who may have employment needs, recognizing the difference between us and SBS. We will get you a job that is $40,000 or more. SBS right now, it's more of an hourly job. $19 an hour is their median amount. So thinking of it in those ways as far as what we're trying to target when we speak to growth.
Can you commit to tracking and publishing overall numbers? Like you've housed 100 veterans out of 10,000, and outcomes, 24% of veterans remained housed over 3 years, to better understand the impact that they're having.
I want to defer to Lamar. I'll start a little bit. For us, I know that we report a good deal on our current local laws as far as the reporting that is with VRC basis, with an annual basis. Forgive me for not having those laws in front of me. I think it's 215, and local law is 44. So I know that we already report out a lot of information. And so I just want to make sure that we are capturing what you're saying. I know we've got MMR. Lamar, you want to? Yeah.
We have MMR, we have
Yeah.
we have the MMR, we have the PMMR that we report the same findings. I just want to say that we're anticipating more numbers, more people for aftercare and rapid rehousing types of issues, more so than homelessness. Yes, we want to get to functional zero, but working veterans and veteran families right now are really under siege and having difficulty in making their rent. So,
And it's not going to get easier with the veterans aging over the years. It'll get tougher. Tell me how we could improve the numbers, and this is big for you, Commissioner, about the veterans self-identifying. How do we move the needle if we can't communicate with veterans through the mail, or you're limited to communication? How do we get, like you mentioned one where with city agencies can certainly ask the questions, but what, are you a veteran or anybody serve, in your family is a veteran, that kind of question. But how else do we move the needle? Because that's the most frustrating thing I've seen, where they don't self-identify. And
I think that us all doing this together is key. In other words, this is why the data sharing is so important. This is why, for us, when we live in a world where you know who all the veterans are in your district, that you will go out and try to get the word out to them about any offerings, resources available. But the same thing for that assemblyman, same thing for that state senator, same thing for that borough president, and so on and so forth. So for us, if we're able to, and that community board, so if we share this information, and these are agreements that we put into place a few years ago, we started signing agreements so that once we knew we'd be able to land the plane here from a data disaggregation standpoint, we get out there. So if everyone is reaching out, at some point the dam breaks. If enough of us, all of us, as far as those who are in public positions who are able to obtain this data, is when all of us are reaching out like this, it's going to make those impact. And it many times may not be about the veteran. It may be getting that veteran's spouse to come online. It may be about getting that veteran's child to come online or someone else. And so for me, I'm hoping that when we are all multipliers within our respective circles in penetrating these things, I think that'll change the situation.
so the commitment to long-term formal needs assessment for veterans beyond the survey, like bringing in external experts. Is that something you can kind of address?
I want to defer to Mike a little bit on this, on the care coordination side, but I believe that we already, when we bring someone as part of the workflow, that something like this is already occurring. But Mike, yep.
Yes, so when we're contacted by a veteran, whether it's in person, online, email, through our website, phone call, we have a preset list of questions that we ask them to try to identify all the needs that they might be facing. Because they might turn up reporting one need, but through the process of talking to them, we end up opening multiple cases for them. So a housing client might never have filed a VA claim. Somebody filing a VA claim might be unemployed. Somebody who's unemployed might be thinking they want to start a small business. So we try to address the need that they come to us with, but also figure out what else they might need. Whether it's a veteran program or another city program that we might be able to refer them to, keeping in mind that not every veteran who comes to us with a problem is necessarily experiencing a veteran problem where there is a veteran program specifically set up to benefit them, but they may have a question that they just need someone to answer their call at another city agency. And that's where it's great that we have the partnership with other city agencies where they have identified veteran liaisons. So there's a person within that organization who's sort of a friendly face to take that veteran's question.
A needs assessment for the whole veteran population.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's what the question. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he means a survey of what the needs would be. So I don't know.
We already performed the survey. I'd argue that our current, which we already do in a 4-year battle rhythm, a 4-year rhythm of the Veteran Community and Family Survey, that kind of...
Okay, could you do a phone survey, for instance?
Right now, we use Mission Vet Check as a way to reach out to folks. But right now, I don't... This is back to... I'm worried about us doubling or tripling, like, to do the same thing in different ways. I just want to be careful with our resources. That's all I'm saying, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
We do send a survey to everybody that contacts us through Vet Connect NYC. So we follow up with them in that.
In the way of what? How do you reach?
A customer service satisfaction service. So we
customer
email.
satisfaction.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And what's the response on that? Would you say?
We have it with us. So the last one that we did a batch, and we received 43 responses out of a total of 73 that were opened. You know, you send an email, people don't always open it up.
Yeah.
But it is limited to those who have already accessed our service.
I'm one. I do answer surveys when I'm dissatisfied. You know, mostly, and because I'm angry. You know, but. If I'm satisfied, unless the person went way above and beyond in helping me, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
So,
also, I want to flag too.
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
is one of the this new look Vet Connect. We'll be capturing data so we can report in a better way on these types of issues as far as what the needs are underlying for folks. So I want to flag that. That's something else that's baked in, which we'll see with this new platform for Vet Connect. So yeah.
again, thank you, Commissioner, and your staff. That's all the questions I have. Anybody else? All right.
I just would
Councilmember
say,
Nurse? Yeah.
sorry, I would just say that I think, I haven't read this. I did skim through it just now, and I read through your testimony, and I would say that the C, to me, reflects more of a lack of commitment from the administration than a 30-something person agency, or how many people are here? 37 are hired there. Like, it's not realistic, and it's not viable for you all to be doing the level that's being asked of with that level of resources. And so I think it's really on the administration to be putting more resources, and quite frankly, on the federal government. It's the federal government that recruits. It's the federal government that has the covenant with people, and they should be putting up the resources. I think it's too much that's being asked right now based on the resources that are being given for you all. So I just want to say thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I would agree with that statement, and I think everybody would who's
Absolutely.
Fair thinking and supports our veterans, supports DVS, that it's a catch-22, where if you don't get the funding, you can't do the things that you want to do. And a smaller staff, not being able to even communicate with your, and especially on self-identification, not being able to send even a phone, do a phone survey, but not not able to mail is a detriment. I mean, so the funding would have to be increased, and so I agree with the council member that the agency is too small, it's underfunded drastically, and our veterans deserve better. So I would put it on the administration. I have said that over and over again. So I will meet with the mayor on this to tell him very quickly that we have to increase DVS's budget dramatically and that'll pay dividends, and certainly if our veterans get more services and more disability funding from the government, from the VA, then that money, again, that money will be spent in New York City, and New York City will realize an uptick certainly in its finances. So I think it's a good investment. So I will be telling the mayor, and I hope you'll tell the mayor also, Commissioner. All right, thank you so much for your testimony, and good job.
Thank you.
So I will now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding and that the quorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant-at-Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant-at-Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you'll have 3 minutes. We're going to make it 3 minutes, Sergeant. Just right here it says 2. We'll make it 3. And today's hearing topic is implementing recommendations from the City Council's Report Card Initiative. No other topics, please, because we always get sidetracked with that. Stay on that. We will hear all in-person testimony first, and then testimony on Zoom. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant-at-Arms. I will now call on the first panel. Amy Hoser Weber, Jane DaCosta, and Joe Bello. Okay, Joe's coming. Okay, Amy, you want to start when you get a seat there? Okay. Just a reminder to introduce yourself before you start speaking.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair Holden and the other members of the Committee on Veterans. My name is Amy Hoser Weber, and I am the Director of the Civil Practice at the Veteran Advocacy Project. VAP ensures access to health care, housing, and income for low-income veterans and their families, with a focus on those living with post-traumatic stress, brain injury, substance dependency, and other mental health conditions. I am happy to testify today regarding Speaker Adams' State of the City Report Card for the Department of Veterans Services. As the committee, DVS, and the community move forward with an idea of DVS 2.0, I would like to highlight the priorities VAP believes will ensure New York City's veterans and their families can thrive. The report highlights that only 33% of the workforce capacity for DVS is dedicated to service delivery. The direct services provided to veterans and their families is at the heart of the agency's mandate, yet according to the report, only a third of the staff has, quote, assisting clients as part of their job description, end quote. 5 DVS employees are assigned to the Veteran Support Services Unit. These staff members work on VA claims and provide information to veterans, including referrals to mental health services. According to the report, the unit also, quote, serves as a primary interface with clients, end quote. These caseworkers will also be responsible for fulfilling other proposed council initiatives that aim to increase DVS's presence in each of the 51 districts. The report card highlights that the Veteran Support Services caseworkers are spread thin, which has raised concerns over the quality of DVS's services and the continuing ability of the department to keep up the demand for claims assistance. Given all that these caseworkers are taking on, it is difficult to understand how they have the time to work on claims, which require reviewing records, gathering evidence, and presenting it in a way that obtains the highest disability rating for a veteran. The fact that the same individuals are doing extensive outreach and making referrals, serving as the primary responders on mental health requests, raise questions about how well these tasks can be accomplished. The speaker's report also notes that DVS has lowered target numbers for mental health referrals due to changes in mental health screening. The city has engaged in a partnership with New York Cares, which runs Mission Vet Check, where volunteers make calls to veterans for whom the city has phone numbers. The volunteers are provided one page of pre-approved resources, and NYC 988, New York's webpage for the National Crisis Line, is the one listing for mental health. Reportedly, DVS has no other plan to create coordinated efforts on mental health services. In order to set DVS staff up for success, FAP urges the council to expand the department's budget so they can hire more positions providing services. To improve the efficiency and strengthen the efficacy of DVS caseworkers, the current responsibility of the Veteran Support Services team should be separated into two distinct areas, claims and communications. With caseworkers solely dedicated to concentrated areas, DVS would be better able to serve the needs of the community, including overwhelming demand for claims assistance. Historically, improving veterans' housing stability has been one of the strongest programs at DVS. Federal funding cuts are threatening New York City housing providers and the work of housing advocates. As the report card states, quote, comprehensive and accessible support must be available to veterans to find and successfully secure housing, end quote. While DVS works closely with DHS and other stakeholders, the report highlighted that veterans have expressed frustration over how difficult it can be to communicate with the agency. This may be in part because what DVS can provide to veterans is not always clear. Is DVS paying brokers' fees, rent? What criteria do the veterans need to meet to obtain these funds? Other places in the report reference misaligned expectations, and this may apply to housing services. Providing detailed information not only about the type of help available, but about who qualifies for these services would improve veterans' expectations and advocates' ability to make appropriate referrals. Improved communication about specific resources was a theme repeated throughout the report. The primary purpose of DVS is to be a connector of veterans and the resources they have earned. The DVS website has many categories, and tabs, and drop-down lists that can be overwhelming and difficult to get concrete information unless you fill out a Vet Connect form. There are also links with pages about programs with little information. As programs evolved, it could be challenging to ascertain what is currently available. VAP believes that the council and department need to have transparent conversations about what DVS is doing, should be doing, and can do. As a community, we need to provide the resources necessary for the agency to accomplish the initiatives we have asked them to do. Veterans must have trust in the agency that was created to serve them. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Good afternoon. My name is Jane DaCosta. I'm the Executive Director and founder of Metropolitan Equestrian. We are a nationwide organization. I'm Brooklyn born and raised. I'm a 100% disabled vet, and I was discharged 22 years ago and 7 months ago. And why that timeline is important is because 22 years ago, 9 months ago, I was the youngest City Council appointee for the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs. 22 years later, 9 months later, we're having the same conversation. And I'm saying this because back then there was less resources, less staffing, less budget. But the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, that's what was called the time, MOVA, under Mike Handy, found me when I was in the military. They actually came to our ship. And he said, I'll see you when you come out. And I came out, and he says, I got this idea. And that's how I became the youngest City Council appointee, which is all well and good. That human connection is how we reach out to our veterans. Not a survey, not a phone call, not a database, not anything of that nature. And it takes some relevance. And yes, I was 23 at the time. Now you could do the math. But here I am 22 years later, 9 months later, and I'm still hearing the same conversation. And I only stepped off the board because I moved out of New York City and moved to Long Island. So that was one of those fine lines. The reason why I'm having this conversation with you, and I know we're pressed for time, is back then there wasn't a grading system. Today there's a grade. You get a grade C for showing up. Believe you me, I have over 100 kids in our organization, and they get a C for showing up. And I'm not going to say that this is all the blame of the current commissioner, but this is something that we keep repeating. The speech is all the same. Figures don't lie, but liars figure. And the reason why I'm having this conversation for you is because we have to be better at reaching out, and it's not putting out a survey. Maybe it's going out to the communities, but I'm going to tell you how the state answered that question. So as an executive director of this nonprofit, I asked the state to come and help me fund to have veterans, active duty, and Gold Star, and their immediate family members to be a part of equestrian sports, of which, by the way, I did try to contact many city councils, and no one responded. And I will tell you, I do have a lobbyist firm. That was the only reason why I know about today's, because I have a lobbyist firm that comes to our organization. And the state was able to answer that because they gave us funding to be able to service veterans, Gold Star, and immediate family members. These immediate family members tell us what's going on with the veterans, and that's how we were able to connect them to federal programs and other nonprofits like veteran advocacy projects and many other ones. So I can't speak to how the city can do their funding. That's way above my pay grade. But I will tell you, as someone who's 100% disabled vet, someone who has taken care of our own veterans, someone has been a city council appointee, someone who has an award from Senator Marty Golden as a very, very distinguished veteran who has serviced many veterans in New York City and Long Island, and someone who has taken advantage of health benefits and VA home loans and everything else, and had got the education and have zero student loan debt because I'm a veteran. We have to do better. And it's not a survey, and it's not a website. You gotta get some relevance. And the service members that are coming out there are younger than me. So maybe we need to do what Mike Handy wanted to do, may God rest his soul, and put younger veterans out there to be the change we wish to see in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Bello?
Is this on? Okay. All right. Chairman Holden, members of the Veterans Committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Having taken a deep breath, listening to the Commissioner's testimony, I want to reiterate on the record that what I said at the last hearing, that DVS is 9 years old. Commissioner Hendon has been the commissioner now. He will be the commissioner for 5 years now, come December. He's here at every hearing, and he writes in the book consistently. So looking at the report, I'm trying to figure out, okay, so he's now talking about all these things that the agency is going to do, but where has it been over the last 5 years? We can sit there and say that 21 people were surveyed, 41 people, 51. I'm out in the street, and I know many of the people here are too, and even people that are listening. And we hear the same thing, that the agency is failing. So the agency report card is an important step towards strengthening the oversight of DVS. I commend the council, particularly the compliance team, for this effort. The findings confirm, and I'll say it again, what many of us in the community are observing, that DVS is failing to meet the needs of veterans and their families. And I'm going to say this as well. While the council assigned a letter grade of C, and the commissioner believes there should be a B, I personally, looking at the rating scale, believe it should be a D. Reviewing, and I want to show you this, reviewing DVS's stand-up report from 2019, it is clear that the agency has expanded all its programs and initiatives under the current commissioner, while the current mayor, has not given any funding into this agency. So the other problem is there's no publicly available strategic plan. This leaves veterans and stakeholders in the dark about the agency's direction, goals, and priorities. The lack of transparency, combined with the high staff turnover and a reported 970% increase in service requests from FY23 to 24, overwhelms the agency, and half of them are front-facing, which leads to delays and poor follow-up. The frontline staff, and I said this last month, are under extreme distress, and the agency's organizational chart that's in the report even shows individuals who've already left the agency. Additionally, as I testified and the commissioner brought it up again, The $450,000 investment in the new Vet Connect platform has yet to deliver any results. It's being built out. Veterans are forced to rely on a Microsoft form, undermining transparency and data collection. Meanwhile, DVS continues to fall short in fulfilling its legal reporting obligations. And this goes to what I said last month as well, Local Law 37, 215 and 216. The report praises DVS partnership with non-for-profits, but it also highlights a very key concern, a heavy reliance on non-for-profits, many who are facing their own funding and capability challenges, without strong, sustained collaboration from DVS. This is creating a serious accountability gap that is compounded by DVS's lack of regular community engagement. And I'm not even going to get into the surveys. The report didn't list a 2020 veterans convening that took place in Brooklyn when the commissioner first came on. Despite being an agency for nearly 9 years, a shocking 58% of veterans remain unaware of DVS's services. How is that? I'm not sure how that is because we all know we've been losing veterans.
But let me just, because I think you'll agree that the administration should put in, they should have a larger budget.
We had this conversation.
So how much is really on the administration and not the agency, the DVS, meaning DVS has a small staff, so not being, again, not addressing some of the, not being able to communicate and through mail, I think is huge. I think if we increase the budget just so they can communicate 4 times a year, let's say, to veterans, that would go a long way. That's why you got to take I take it with a grain of salt here.
Oh no, I'm not saying I don't agree with you. What I'm saying is that you cannot have an administration that is not funding, doing pegs, doing cuts, right? We've been to all these testimonies, but then having a commissioner that is adding on programs and initiatives. Who's suffering there? The staff. And when they're dropping the ball, you've got the leadership here cracking down on them, and what do they wind up doing? They wind up leaving. Where's Nicole Jordan-Jones?
Again, that's like,
so it's a two-pronged thing.
It is a catch-22, though. It's just like with the police department. Officers are quitting because not only are they overworked, they're handling more duties. They're criticized when they have overtime. So unless we hire more officers, unless we hire more DVS personnel, we're going to be in this predicament.
Well, then I think this goes to what we talked about last month at the preliminary budget hearing. I personally, I hope you are able to convince the mayor to put additional funding into DVS, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it.
Right.
And so, just to wrap up.
Again, I don't know if I tried to tell him, and the answer was, well, we shouldn't be doing the VA, the federal government's work.
And I think that's why what we said last month in the DVS 2.0, we have to have a discussion about what is doable and what is not doable.
Okay, Councilmember Ariola.
I just want to say that the mayor did the federal government's work when he welcomed over 200,000 illegal migrants and put them up in hotels and paid for their food and paid for their medical insurance and put them in school and made sure they had clothes. That was all supposed to be federal funded. And so that's not an excuse on the mayor's part. And when we do have that conversation, we will bring that up to him.
I appreciate that.
Because when they want to find the money, they do, and it should go to the veterans.
Mm-hmm. So just to wrap up, veterans upheld their promise to serve. Now is past time for the city to uphold its promise to them. I want to thank the council again, thank the compliance team for their work on this report. And my full testimony has been submitted for the record.
Thanks, panel. And I have to step out to have a meeting, very important meeting. Councilmember Ariola has agreed to chair the hearing. And I'll try to get right back and listen, but I just have to run out for about 15, 20 minutes, something like that. Thank you.
Ariola's taking over for the time being. He said he might be back. We're still going.
The next panel is Armando Crescenzi, George Singleton, and Rabah Belkacir.
That'd be great. Very much. Okay. Thank you. You have a seat. You have any copies of that? Okay. Yeah, well. All right. You want to move in so you can get the end here?
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Come on.
I'm gonna be up here. I didn't want to come. Same stuff. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's this one?
That's mine.
Armando's first.
Okay, we'll go left to right. You can start your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Armando Crescenzi. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on the implementation of the Speaker's recommendation for the Department of Veteran Services. The challenge is in the title. Can the Department of Veteran Services implement the recommendations in the Speaker's report card? My name is Armando Crescenzi. I'm a post commander of my American Legion post. I'm a life member of the DAV and the Military Officers of America Association. I'm a New York State certified alcohol and drug counselor, and I received my JD in 1994 from Pace University School of Law. In 2010, I founded a nonprofit organization called Put Veterans First, whose mission is to help New York City veterans become self-sufficient by building their own small businesses as vendors and food cart operators. The injustices and abuse that the veterans face at the hands of the city is disgraceful, and the city should be embarrassed of its record with the veterans who street vend. If it's to make a few extra bucks or to start a food service empire, thousands of veterans sign up every year with the Department of Consumer Affairs and Worker Protection. This is one place where 100% of veterans self-identify, at the Department of Consumer Affairs and Worker Protection. If they're not self-identifying, it's because there's nothing there for them. They're motivated to self-identify at places like this. When it's time for licensing, they step up. They come in highly motivated and inspired to start a business. And year after year, thousands of veterans are driven out of the marketplace by the very same city that boasts on how friendly they are to its veterans. Many would think that the problems that they face from the agencies and the NYPD could be easily solved with a well-placed phone call from the Department of Veteran Services. Unfortunately, the Department of Veteran Services has completely abandoned us. You've heard the expression, no veteran left behind, no soldier left behind. We've been left behind. We are outside the perimeter and we are under fire. Some of the challenges we face, the city agencies and the NYPD refusing to recognize the rights of veterans to street vend, issuing summonses which are completely erroneous. They can't hold jurisdiction to even get into court. They're bogus summonses. The judges at oath and in criminal court likewise are ignorant of the privileges that we hold. And very often the decisions are decided against us. The Department of Transportation is privatizing every bit of sidewalk space for rent to the highest bidder. Sidewalk furniture, benches, dining sheds are all physically encroaching on our means of making a living. The Health Department is silent on all, this will take me another minute, Health Department is silent on all veteran vending matters following their unlawful passage of the Street Vendor Modernization Act. They are gonna add another 4,000 more food carts to the already crowded streets. The Department of Consumer Worker Protection has turned over all vending responsibilities to a private entity called the Street Vendor Project. Now, first of all, that goes against anything in the city charter. Mm-hmm. You can't have a private entity installed in and making decisions, and there's direct conflict of interest. Their goals are diametrically opposed to those of street vendors who are veterans. They want open street vending. They want to lift all restrictions. They would like to remove all restrictions and basically take away all licensing requirements. Mm-hmm. They think street vending is a human right and that this city owes it to them. So that may be fine, But what about the veterans who've been doing this for 20 years and now their privileges are just pulled out from under them? Besides, all right, I think I made that point. Veterans. All right, so we have been literally begging for help from DVS. We are the perfect target population which DVS can easily engage and easily get tangible results. We don't need any funding. We're asking for help. We're asking for a voice. These are rights that are already codified in law, and they've already been litigated in the courts in our favor. In fact, I challenge the DVS today to make a commitment to veterans who vend. So, as I asked earlier, can the DVS implement recommendations in the report card? You know, every month we come here, and Joe made a point, it's years now. This is not DVS's first year. So we've been coming in for certainly since the inception. I was so happy when they made a department for veteran services. Street vendors who vend, I think we're instrumental in bringing it to a department level city agency. From MOVA, I think we're instrumental in bringing it to department level. And we've been ignored. All right, so we absolutely have no voice. So every month, we come in with our pleas, we come to these hearings, and we really shouldn't have to come to these hearings to be heard. But we're not getting any response at DVS. So the phone numbers that keep being repeated again and again and again, why bother? I have been in touch with DVS over the years to no avail.
I think if I can just interrupt you for a moment and ask you to please wind down and wrap up. But the fact that the commissioner and his team are here, it's a good time to have an off the mic conversation with them, and this way, they can get information from you here. So you're not getting an unanswered phone call. All right?
Actually, I think that ship has already left the dock.
So you've already had those conversations.
I am in regular contact with the Department of Veteran Services, like month to month, week to week. I thank you for pointing that out. I made a list of names of all the point of contacts I've spoken to over the years. There are the attorneys and their assistants and the department deputy commissioners, and it's like they all give me a little bit. I don't want to. They give me a little. They appease my concerns for the moment. All right, and then there's no follow-up.
Okay, then we as a committee are going to have that conversation with the commissioner. Thank you. Next.
All right. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your
I'll close
testimony
right
and
there.
your service. Thank you.
I don't know how. Yeah. Hi, my name is Rabah Belkebir. I'm a service-connected. My name is Rabah Belkebir. I'm a service-connected U.S. Army disabled vet. I'm a street vendor myself for the last 30 years. And there is exactly 1,600 veterans vendors, which is 300 are disabled veterans. And you know what, we did some research. There is only right now 200 working because of the illegal vendors, which is the city funded $6 billion, who get $6 billion. So are they chasing us from the streets? So like we said, for the last 2 years, I've been coming in and out for this council hearing, whatever. And something happened last time. They did create something, which is we asked for it. It's the city agency, because the city agency always ignore veterans. So we did ask to have like liaison between us as veterans vendor and this so-called city agency. And of course, we asked to go through to make it more official, to go through the DVS. So they just created this liaison agency, whatever they call it. So, they designed Jason to be the liaison, but Jason now is in Washington. And I spoke to the commissioner last week, right? He said that he's going to put someone else, of course. So this is what we're going to do. It's in the website and everything. So I hope this agency will start, doing their jobs they get paid for. So we're expecting the commissioner, to design someone who's going to be liaison, but as soon as possible. We can't wait, because we are really hurting. We're getting more summonses. By the way, in Times Square area, I'm talking about food vendor, disabled veterans food vendor. Everybody, I'm talking about food vendors, George. Everybody's illegal there. The only two person who are legals, which means me and Armando, and we are the only ones who get summonses. And Department of Consumer Affairs, what happened? They issued, we had approved, they issued a yellow license, which means to have a yellow or blue license, you have to be a service-connected disabled veterans. Department of Consumer Affairs used it to someone who has nothing to do with our armed forces. So this is a fake. We did everything, but they never listened to us. The Department of Oath, we're trying to get, because if you are not a veteran, they're going to dismiss if you are a veteran, they will never dismiss and we went to court, me and Armando, we will know what's going on. So this is what's going on, but hopefully something will happen. This agency will start listening to the authority, and of course with the DVS. I have a lot of things to do to say more, but that's good.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
and thank you for your service. Sir?
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is George Singleton. I'm the president of Disabled Veterans of New York. It's an organization that me and my veteran vendors started on our own. The purpose of it was to bring the issues that we have, not as just vendors, as veterans in the city of the state of New York. I challenge the city council to stop talking about surveys and go out into the street and talk to the veterans. That's the best thing you can do. We need to stop with all this playing around. We playing games here. Let's have a meeting. I've been a vendor since 2003. I've been coming to meetings since 2003. Is that ridiculous? We still going through the same problems. The biggest problem is the state has never clarified 35A. When they made the law for us disabled veterans that was given us during the Civil War days, after the Civil War, we was awarded that in New York State. Now, if the city meets with the assemblyman and the state senator and say, listen, let's amend that line to make sure that every vendor on the streets of New York know disabled veterans have priority over any vendor. Let's get this done. What is the problem? Why is it taking so long? I've been asking for this since 2004, when they kicked us out of Midtown and they said, y'all got to go back because the law had sunsetted for 1 year. They let it look like Bangladesh, and they made it look bad in the city for the veterans. Now, you got people from everywhere working in the streets of New York City with no license. I drive past Central Park every morning to come to Times Square. You got a bunch of people down there with all type of big, gigantic vendor things. They not following no law. We got restrictions on our tables. There's no restrictions out here now. But you're gonna come running to the vets and give us a ticket. That's a problem. So I would challenge the city council, come out here and talk to us. Don't sit in your office or go wherever you go. Come talk to us. We the ones that kept y'all safe. Don't we deserve that right? We kept everybody in this country safe. We deserve that right. And I'm tired of us being disrespected by everybody. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, so I'm a little bit loud, a little bit rough. That's how it is in New York. When you're a New Yorker, you're a New Yorker. You don't like to take a bunch of crap off of nobody. Come on, man. We veterans, we've been trying to do this thing the nice way. They taught us skills that can hurt a lot of people. You don't really want to unleash veterans out into the street and being all upset every day like they've been doing. Come on, let's fix it before it gets crazy out here. That's real.
I couldn't agree more.
I just want to say something. There is 30,000 vendors, but the city are punishing there is only 200 disabled veterans. But the city are, they don't care about the other 30,000, non-veterans. Their problem is us, only the 200. That's it.
You know why, right? You know the reason why that is? Because if they get rid of disabled veterans, then they can make room to get rid of all the vendors. Do you understand that, guys? That's the deal. The only one that y'all can't move in the city is disabled veterans. That's the whole purpose of this whole everything with all these tickets.
Okay, well, I'm going to have a conversation with the chair of the Department of Consumer Affairs and Worker Protection, and I'm also going to have a conversation with Keith Powers, who is the council member over at the Times Square area. And we'll have answers for you. My chief of staff is in the audience. She'll give you her information, and we'll get back to all of you. I'll keep your information.
You sent me to him, if you remember.
I remember, and I remember there was some movement. I'm sorry to see that there wasn't enough, but we'll revisit.
You remember?
I do remember you very, very well. I remember you, sir.
So we done?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Me too, Commissioner. Me too, Commissioner. Yes. Thank you. How are you? I'm good.
Okay, our next panel is Timothy Pena, Sharon Brown, and Christopher Leon Johnson.
Nothing to hand out. 50. All right. Just make sure you turn on the red light.
Okay, staying with the same routine, Mr. Johnson, you can go first.
All right. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson, and I want to make this clear that the reason they got a C grade, it wasn't because they wasn't doing a bad job. It was because we had this little speaker who's trying to run for mayor, had a big feeling that she weaponized her little grading system to make them say, "Look, if you don't support me for mayor, then I'm gonna bury your agency." And I have a big feeling that they didn't want to dance her little dirty beat. So she gave him a bad grade. I believe that the Veterans Committee is doing a great job. The issue is that the city council and the city council, especially with the little lady over there, Mrs. Sandy Nurse, she's not here right now, but they need to have a city council hearing to remove her as one of the members of the city council committee for veterans and put her somewhere else because her father's a veteran, but she don't give a damn about no veterans in this. She don't care about no veterans. She don't care. Something like she don't care about no veterans. I didn't even remove Sandy Nurse. That's the start. Remove Sandy
Nurse.
Nurse.
What I'm going to ask you to do is to really stick, Christopher. If
I'm sticking to.
Just stick to what we can do better for the Department of.
But that's what we do. That's what we do it for the best.
But everyone on this committee really does care. Otherwise, they can be asked to be removed from the committee.
Well, she won't be removed. I'm not.
I'm saying they can ask. So if they're on this committee, which is a small committee, relatively.
Yeah.
Compared to other committees, so everybody does care and everybody wants to do the right thing, and I do agree to a point where yes, the city council has to be held accountable, the administration has to be held accountable, and more money has to be put into the Department of Veteran Services because. Yes, we do hear the same thing all the time. Why? Because their budget number never goes up. Never goes up. And they have, as Joe Bello mentioned, an issue with retention because people get better jobs elsewhere.
Yeah.
That they can work less. So I agree with you, and I thank you for your testimony.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep. I said a minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, like I said, that was the start. That was the start. But y'all remove her from the committee. That's a big start. The second thing is that the city council needs to start designating veterans to be part of deliveristas. They need to start recognizing them as deliveristas too. But at the same time, these guys were correct about the vendor situation where they get treated like dirt. The veterans get treated like dirt outside City Hall. There's no veterans outside. And that's like one of the places where they're supposed to get service. They're supposed to be treated well is outside City Hall. They get treated like dirt while at the same time the people that like people call migrants, they never get harassed. They never get harassed by the cops. They never get tickets. But there's a reason behind that is because these nonprofits like the Street Vendor Project and Make the Road New York and this Progressive Caucus, which that council member Sandra Nurse is a part of, and she's one of the biggest leaders of it. They protect these guys. They protect these guys and gals while the veterans get treated like dirt. That's the issue here. Like I said, I know they're doing a great job. These guys here doing a great job. Like I said, the first thing I need to do is get rid of Sane Nurse off that Veterans Committee. Like I said, she doesn't care. She didn't ask not one question in the past about 6 hearings today. 6 hearings. Even the pre-budget hearing, she didn't ask not one question at the pre-budget hearing. So to keep it real, like, look, if I understand you had to.
So just to clarify, she did make a statement today asking for more money for the Department of
now
Human
she's
Services.
saying now she's saying it because
that happened here, but
now today because
we're not going to debate whether or not she belongs on the committee. She's on the committee and she's going to.
But she need to be removed.
For Department
y'all need to come out and rally against Sandy Nurse. Go in front of her office.
That you can do
and go in
on
front of
your
her
own
office
time, but
and
not
call the
today.
speaker to get her removed.
We're
Just
going
get
to
her
move to the next person. Thank you so very much.
Hello, my name is Sharon Brown. Before I begin, remember Israel, release the hostages, let Yahweh's people go, defend Israel. Okay, we have to really help the veterans, and we can't just keep talking about it. We have to make sure that the veterans are declared to have been active duty while they were homeless. They were out on the streets. Their skill set is to defend the nation. While they were out there on these streets of New York City and around America, they should be deemed to have been serving and been on active duty. And I have said this before, for the time that they were homeless and whatever time that they were in the military prior, they will be getting paid and the benefits will be assessed for the time that they were homeless and the time that they actually served. As the gentleman spoke about the vendors, I was trying to figure out what he was speaking about. There are vendors that line City Hall near the bridge side, and I don't see any stickers or anything that show that there are veterans there. That is very concerning that there are no veterans represented. But I still do, like I said before, want veterans to own stores, brick fronts, and things like that. They shouldn't only be out on the street vending. They should also have the right to own stores, houses, property, vehicles. We should be funding them to make sure that they have the best. So because they have defended this nation, they should get everything that is a part of the American dream. A house if they want to, or an apartment, whichever one they choose. A vehicle for them to drive if they are able. If they aren't able and they don't understand that they're able, they can learn that disabled people know how to drive. I had an uncle who was missing a leg. He was military and he was driving a car even though he had a leg amputated. So military can function when they are not being debilitated by the system. They should not be forced into mental health programs and things like that. They need to be active in life, owning property, owning vehicles, teaching other people things that they know. They have taken care of this nation, and we should take care of them. It's not about drugging them and telling them what to do. They have the skills to tell society what they need to do to be safe, secure, and to progress and to prosper. They were paid for this kinds of thing. Also, for those who are homeless, I'll just say this the last, those who are homeless, when they are out on the street, there should be people from the HRA to go out and hand out food stamp cards for them to use and cash while they're out on the streets. We need bathrooms for them. We need them to get permanent housing now. There are veterans out on the street. This is obscene. Veterans living on the street is obscene.
Thank you for that testimony.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Pena. I own an organization called Veterans Justice Project that assists incarcerated, homeless, and transitioning veterans with resources and referrals to facilitate a successful entry into civilian society. I myself spent 5 months at the that is the Grant Per Diem program at Borden Avenue Shelter in LIC back in 2022. In a span of 11 days, we had 3 veterans die there in a VA program, 2 from overdose and 1 from a hit and run. First, I'd like to recognize Department of Veterans Services for their hard work. Despite being underfunded, they have made major advances in outreach over the past year. I would disagree with a grade of C on that point. I do, however, listening to what we're talking about today, I believe that they have put too much of an emphasis on online, on Vet Connect, on squares, on phones, all of these things where you have a majority of veterans who either have no phone, especially those of us who are still in the homeless spectrum, and those that do have phones, a lot of us are not tech savvy to be answering a bunch of questions on our phones. My experience with incarcerated veterans is snail mail. And I buy a bunch of stamps and I mail them newsletters. I've started a pocket-sized handout here. I've been working on this for 2 years. No one from the city, DVS or otherwise, has ever acknowledged that I put in my own money, my own time. I'm a 70% disabled veteran. Nobody has ever come forward and said, how can we help you put this together? Because we want to be getting in touch with our veterans. Before my time is up, I'd like to make one observation that in the report, it was stated that the Veteran and Family Summit at Yankee Stadium last year brought in 460 veterans. I attended a stand-down event in Phoenix last month. We served almost 2,000 veterans in 2 days. 2,000. 460, and 115 of them were there for professional capacity. The veterans will self-identify if you give them a reason to self-identify. If we are going out to the veterans, we're meeting them where they are, we're bringing them in, they'll get engaged, they'll identify. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and by the way, it's because if DVS had the ability, the budget to do mailings, I think, like you said, not everyone's online. They're not going to fill out forms online. But if we did actually send them a letter, send them a flyer, send them some services, send them the booklet, that would go a long way.
I don't understand that, because I finance this with my VA disability.
Yeah, but how do you deliver it to veterans?
I take it directly to them at the shelters. I take it directly to them on the streets.
I'm saying to communicate with thousands of New York City veterans.
There's 100,000 people that go through Madison Square Garden a week. I live 2 blocks from there.
Right.
Engaging veterans in this city is as easy as it gets. Whether we are...
Not if they don't self-identify. We don't know who they are then.
If I go up and I put up if I go in and I stand outside Madison Square Garden and I ask, "Are you a vet? Are you a vet? Are you a vet?" The veterans that are veterans are going to say yes. So I don't believe this self-identification narrative.
Okay. All right. Thank you, panel. Thank you so much. We have one more in person, Michael Matos. Thank you.
Everyone hear me? Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Montos. I'm a U.S. Coast Guard veteran. I've been advocating for the veteran community for about 5 years now. And first off, I'd like to say about the City Council report card, I think it's a very good thing that we started a process where we can increase transparency on how our city agencies are working, what's not working, what can be improved, and such. I think especially during our time in a broad political climate in our country, we need more transparency as ever. So I do commend the efforts there. When it comes to DVS, I understand that there is criticism, there is things to be worked on and such, but I think we can all agree from hearing from my advocates and the city council members that, to my understanding, the biggest issue we're having here is funding. You can't have an increased capability of an agency without properly funding the task forces that come with it, that require the teams that are put together to accomplish the things that need to be done, right? So when we're thinking about things that need to be done and how we can move forward from this and increase that grade for the DVS, we basically just need to look at increasing funding. That's my overreaching comment there. Now, I do know the team of the DVS. I've spoken to numerous amounts of them. And one thing I will say, they are dedicated to the veteran community. These individuals are overworked. I've spoken to them on all levels. They need help. They need increase in staffing. I understand we're moving towards the digital age, so I understand there's a frustration when it comes to like snail mail, like some of my colleagues have mentioned before. And again, that just goes, to my understanding, it goes back to increasing that funding, increasing that capability to do these things. So I'll make it short because I kind of came here on my break from work to testify real quick.
Michael, do you think the C grade is a fair grade, considering?
All things considered, and knowing the staff, knowing the team, how much work they put in, I do think it would be fair to give them a B.
Okay.
That's fair to me. There's work to be done, but I can't discount the effort that this team has put in.
Right. I don't think anybody. I mean, I have experience with the commissioner and with the staff. I don't feel, that I do feel they're overworked. And I know they care.
Yeah.
And I know the commissioner cares. That the commissioner is living and breathing veterans in New York City. I know he's got a tremendous work schedule.
Yeah.
So I think it all goes back to funding.
Yes.
And if we increase the staff, they wouldn't be overworked.
Yes.
As much. And it's not a lot of money. We're not talking, it's a $5 million plus agency. If we even put $8 million, I think that would go a long way in increasing some staff members, less workload, and then being able to communicate.
I agree.
With the veterans and getting more to self-identify. But thank you, Michael. Thanks.
Of course. One last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'd love to see more collaboration. I know we have a few good advocates here working together, regardless of our differing opinions and such. Remember, we are all one veteran family here in the city. So we can be critical of each other, but let's focus on moving forward and how we can work together instead of pointing fingers on what went wrong.
Right.
Let's work together on making it better.
Yeah,
So.
and because like I said, and when I took over as chair, we're all on the same team here.
Yeah.
We want to help veterans. We're all have the same mission, and our goals are the same. So let's work together. Like you said, collaboration is important, and trying to come up with constructive criticism. When you criticize, as long as if you criticize with some actual solutions. And again, I think it goes back to budget. But thank you so much. And I want to thank Joanne Ariola, the council member, for taking over for me. I also do a shout out, I don't know if you did, Jason Lochran, who's going to be sorely missed as the deputy commissioner. And he's a great guy. He's going to do well in his new role. But we miss him. And I know DVS is going to miss him. There's big shoes to fill. But I want to thank Jason and DVS for all the hard work over the years. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, if there's anyone else present in the room who has not had the opportunity to testify but wishes to do so, please raise your hand. All right, seeing no one else.
No one on Zoom. Just state there's no one on Zoom.
Yeah, there's no one who's raised their hand. Seeing no one who wishes to testify, this hearing is now adjourned. Is that one or two?